Yes.
Demaryius Thomas. Where do we sit in this situation, Troy? I mean, should they be waiting for Des Bryant to sign something? Do the Broncos actually want to sign him to a long-term deal? What's the feeling at Dove Valley about what Demaryius Thomas and his agent are doing right now?
Well, it's still a little quiet there. Deadline spur action. The deadline is a week from today, July 15th at 2 p.m. So it could literally happen that day.
Explain to people out there what that means.
Well,
deadline to do what?
He's on a franchise tag of $12.82 million that he has not signed yet. So if they do not complete a deal by July 15th, by 2 p.m., he has to play under that franchise tag this season.
A week from today.
Yeah. He has to play under that for the season. Whether you could even talk or under the table, it doesn't. You can't give him an extension during the season. So that's why that deadline has some interest to it.
Because people hear that all the time and they go, well,
they'll just that deadline is important because that dictates.
It doesn't matter whether he signs it or not.
Well, you have to sign it eventually to play, which he hasn't done. And so what are they waiting for? The issue is this. Calvin Johnson, in an old CBA, in an old system, received $16 million per season, $48.75 million guaranteed. That system doesn't exist. He would have had a $25 million franchise tag based on his previous rookie contract. That system isn't in place. That market isn't there anymore. He was their Sue before Sue, Ndamukong Suh. So the next wave of receivers, Demaryius Thomas wants Calvin Johnson money, conceivably. That's an outlier, though. The team, and here's the thing: Mike Wallace is the next highest paid, $12 million per season and $30 million guaranteed. Well, clearly DT is better than Mike Wallace, and the Broncos they agree with that. And in their ideal world, they'd like to give DT $13 million, $1 million more per season. The issue is the guarantee. They have to, very minimum. If you look at AJ Green coming up and Julio Jones. If you put their salary this year and if they went franchise the next 2 years, they'd be $40 million guaranteed in 3 years. How does DT take less than that of guys coming behind him that way? So it's got to be somewhere between 30 and 40 million guaranteed. But you know Elway very well. You both do. John, as a businessman, has discipline. There's a line, there's a number he's comfortable with that he'll walk away and say, fine, we'll lease you. We'll just lease and go year to year. And I actually think there's a strong argument for that.
Yeah, but how do you think Demaryius Thomas will respond mentally?
And that's the issue here. Having covered him last year, I have no doubt that he was distracted early in the season trying to prove a point and catch every pass and take it to the house when he had the drops early in the year, Woody, when he was get the little bubble screen and trying to go 90.
He also wasn't comfortable playing the slot.
Right, he wasn't in the, and he didn't like playing the slot. So could he hold out? Yes. And everyone said, well, he can't get any financial leverage at that point, but he could just make life so difficult so they don't franchise him next year, which he's eligible. I don't think they will. I think if they have to choose between Von Miller and Demaryius, I think barring something off the field with Von Miller gets the franchise tag. That's why this is so fascinating. But don't forget, Demaryius Thomas is an elite talent. So that's the argument. But are they changing under Kubiak? Who's their quarterback going to be next season? Nobody knows that. Is it Peyton? Is it Osweiler? Is it somebody that's not on the roster?
Plus, you have Emmanuel Sanders and Cody Latimer under contract over the next couple of years.
Yeah, Sanders would have one more.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating discussion, but the one part, Woody, what do you make of the fact that if they don't get it done, and how will that relate to the production on the field for Thomas? Will it impact him based on what you've seen?
Well, and Les says that it's going to affect him. Well, okay.
I think he's fragile. Yep.
Okay, let it affect him. Then what is he going to get next year? Because he'll be playing under a franchise tag. He'll be a free agent if they don't franchise tag him then. I don't think there's anything wrong with tagging him twice and giving Von the big money. If Von has the year that people do it. Just franchise him. His production's going to go down under Gary Kubiak. We talked about they're going to run the football more. Emmanuel Sanders is a developing player. He's at over 1,000 yards receiving. I think I said Corey, but Cody's going to be a player in this man's league. They can be divas all they want to be, but really,
would you franchise him if his production goes down dramatically this year? Because this last year he set, I think, Blanco's single season record over 1,600 yards. Let's say he has 82 catches for 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns. This is for argument's sake. Would that dissuade either of you from franchise tagging him next year to feel like, you know what, we're not going to go through this entire offseason again? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm saying you can do that, but I don't think you do it. You just let him walk.
Would you let him walk, Les?
If he's fragile this year, I don't want him on my team anyway next year. If he's fragile, I think he's going to play his ass off and not be fragile because he wants that he wants that 17, 18, $20 million contract. And if he allows this to go by, you know as well as I do, both of you, that Jerry Jones is going to call Des Bryant and say, okay, we've had our
fun. Right, enough.
We've had our fun. I'm going to guarantee you $55 million. I'm going to give you a 5-year deal.
No way.
Well, whatever it
yeah,
might
but
be.
I do think that will happen.
That's going to get done. And Demaryius's guy is going to sit there because he's never been a leader.
No.
He's like Ty Lawson. He's a follower. He waits till other clients are signed, then he brings his boy along. That's what he does. He has a history of it if you look at it. So he's not going to lead the fight at the end. So what's going to happen is Demaryius is going to be franchised and Des Bryant's going to get his number. And then next year, if he's fragile, get rid of his ass. If he's not fragile, which I don't think he'll be because now he's got to play for a contract for next year somewhere,
for somebody.
Here, somewhere else.
What do you think, Les? Do you franchise?
I would let him walk.
Would you?
Yeah, I would let him walk.
Just hate to see talent like that go out the door.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, there is not a better, outside of Des Bryant, maybe Calvin Johnson, there's not a better combination of size and speed at that position.
Yeah.
But with Rock Osweiler,
you know, plus outside of the contract situation, he's not been a problem either.
Right. I agree.
But I think you brought up something. A lot of it has to do with who your quarterback is too.
Right. But that's the and even that has tentacles to it that. If you go with Osweiler, doesn't he need to have a fighting chance with a guy like Demaryius Thomas? Or is it, well, we're not going to overpay for a receiver because it's Osweiler, and we'd rather run the ball more?
Well, if Vaughn has a good season this year, I'm going to do a long-term contract with him and maybe franchise DT again.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah. But what is the number then?
What is the number you need for DT?
Somebody tell me what the number is. You're saying Calvin Johnson money.
No, the number would get it done would be $40 million. Guaranteed money. Let's take the AAV out of it because, you know, guys, NFL, it's monopoly money on that. $40 million guarantee would get it done.
All right, would you give him $40 million?
I would not. As much as I love Demaryius Thomas, I would not. I would give him $35 million. I'd split the difference.
What's the difference? 35, $40 million. What's the difference?
Because it sets the precedent for every future negotiation. Yeah. It's a domino effect.
I know, I'm just
okay, so you think they're
$5 million between friends.
You think they're willing to give him $30 million guaranteed?
30? Yes.
You're splitting the difference.
30, yes.
I thought
35.
You were splitting.
I'm splitting the difference between 30 and 40.
That's what I'm saying.
I think 30 they could come to, and I don't know that for a fact. I think they could get to 30. You would have to get to 30 because Wallace has 30. He can't take less than Wallace. In conscience. So 30, they could get to 30. I don't think that's the issue. But could they get to 35, 36? I don't know.
Well, let me just ask one last question, then we got to move on. Do the Broncos want to sign Demaryius Thomas to a long-term deal? Do they really want that?
At their number, they do. At their number, they do.
Okay.
At their number, they do.
Then
that
so
is
sure.
true. No, that is true.
So
That's a great question. Teams, we want to sign you, and they really don't. They would like to sign him, but they want it at their number. They want it to fit where it represents. They're not trying to get him on the cheap either. But for them, it's like Chris Harris. Use that as an example. Chris Harris, you could argue, had he gone to free agent, maybe he's Byron Maxwell, could have got more money.
Oh, yeah.
But he wanted to stay here. They wanted him here, but it had to be hurt on both sides.
Let me tell you something. If John Elway doesn't sign Demaryius Thomas or decides that he's asking for too much money, he won't lose any sleep over it because he'll go out, as aggressive as John is in free agency, he'll go out and he'll get a really good receiver. And you've got that guy and Emmanuel Sanders and Cody Latimer. That's pretty good stable.
Or they could go out and get Phillip Rivers.
They could do that.
But Emmanuel's coming due pretty soon.
He's got one more
year. He's got this year and next year.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to do. If he
I think they'll put money on defense. I don't think they're going to spend money on a receiver if they let Demaryius go.
Let's wrap that up.